Welcome back to another Mind the Mic podcast. I'm your host Shubs, here with another special guest. When I say special, it's special in a different way, not your usual. But hopefully we get more of these whanungas on. Will be pretty cool. A mother, I think a wife. Are you married, sis? Or I don't know, Nick Minute. Yeah, I'm divorced. No. No. uh, would you say journalist? Am I right if I say journalist, or was that?
Yeah, I'd say I'd use journalist.
Yeah, well, there you go, journalist. I should have done this before I jumped on there. So yeah, go from Flash to this already bloody shit up. No. Yeah, journalist, a mother, and I think in a way a pioneer of journalism of the sport of MMA in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Ravinder Hunia, tēnā koe sis. Good to be here. How are you?
Kei te pai. It's the end of my working week, so I'm happy.
Oh, true. Oh, that's good. That's good. For anybody that hasn't seen you or doesn't know you, know here, quite all that good stuff. Where you from?
Well, my name is Ravinder Hunia. I live in Maraetai in Tamaki Makaurau. Born in Tauranga. My whānau's from kiwi fruit capital of the world, Te Puke. And that's my mum's side. My father is Punjabi Indian. And we migrated to Auckland when I was about 4-ish, and grew up in South Auckland. That's
the South Auckland. Oh, so from TPT here to Te Puke Thunder. Hey?
Indeed.
Yeah, my whānau come from, I don't know if you know that little island off the coast there, Motiti. My whānau come from Motiti Island, just Te Ronga Moana there. Yeah. Oh, my mum's side. Yeah, no, 100%. But so what was it like growing up in a whānau that's very unique, especially coming from where we come from? It's not a usual mix. What was that like, sis?
Yeah, it was. You know what? It was normal to me, and I've never really thought about how unique of a situation it was until later in life when people say to me, "Oh, that must be weird to have, two real contrasting cultures and things like that." And I was just like, "Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, true." But to me, it's just always been normal. But my dad being strict Sikh, he came away from Punjab before his parents could arrange him a marriage, and settled in Tauranga to get some labouring jobs, him and his cousin. And my mum was, working in the kiwi fruit orchards and pack houses and things out in Te Puke. So their worlds kind of collided, and the rest was history there. But my dad always stuck to, Sikh religion, Sikh beliefs, and my mum was, pretty staunch in her beliefs as well. I'm a baptized Catholic, but always went to Gurdwara or temple every Sunday. So it was, it was quite interesting to be in both worlds. But my mum can make amazing sabji or curries. My dad used to put down hangis, and our worlds collided quite comfortably.
That's pretty cool. Have you been back to the motherland much, like your father's motherland? Have you never been? Oh,
no, never been. So my dad's only been back a handful of times in my life, and one was after my mum and dad separated. He had to go back to India to get an arranged marriage, but before I was married, and I have two sisters who still aren't married, there's a thing there that you wouldn't go to India unless it was to get a husband, and that was just, so my dad was always like, be wary, because your grandfather will say, well, since they're going over to India, that's what you need to do. That's how we roll. So I'm taken care of now, but I still have two sisters who, and I wouldn't go without them. It doesn't make sense to go without them. So they just, need to hurry up.
100%. Is your uncle, I'm guessing, your dad's cousin, is he still around? The one that he came with?
Yeah. He's he lives in Sydney now, and he actually got married to my mum's first cousin.
Hey, the Māoris,
So they hooked up with two Māori women from Te Puke.
Yeah,
And
those hangi butter chickens there. Let's go.
start of the revolution. Yeah.
Yeah, the revolution.
But yeah, we have cousins like same generation, so we all kind of grew up together. And yeah, he just ended up over in Sydney with you know, 20, 30 odd years ago, that great migration that happened, a whole lot of Kiwis moving over to Australia, so they settled over there.
Oh, true. That's crazy. Are you a twin too, sis?
I am. I have an identical twin sister. And
Identical.
yeah, and we're the eldest. So because my mum and dad, my mum fell pregnant with us before they were married, which was a really big issue in terms of my dad's Sikh religion. You know, you don't have babies out of wedlock, which, you know, when you think about the early 80s, that was a lot of belief across the board, you know, with any
Yeah.
kind of culture,
Right
to
on.
be fair.
Yeah.
But it was super strict in that sense. So that was part of the reason. I mean, the 80s was a very different time in terms of accepting my dad being an Indian in a little, you know, country town in New Zealand as well. So the best fit for them was to migrate to Auckland, you know, to the metropolitan area where there were more people that looked and sounded like him. And there were a lot of bicultural couples that were living in
A lot more
Auckland. So
diversity. Melting pot.
absolutely. Yeah. So in order to live comfortably and whatever, they migrated to Auckland.
It's sad in a way that, you know, like you can't be sort of accepted. I guess obviously he's around your mum's people. It's sad, but obviously they probably accept him a bit more now, I guess, huh? Or
Oh, he's
part of the
because my mum
family.
lives in Australia. So if you know, because my mum and dad have been divorced for years now,
Oh,
but
true.
yeah, but if there's tangi and things, my dad's always there. Like my mum's
Tell me.
family is still very much his family, and they still love him and all that sort of thing. So it's all worked out in the end. Like in hindsight, I think back then it was learning for everybody. Like no one quite knew what was going on or who these people were, or you know, I'm not saying that they didn't know where India was, but they certainly didn't know where my dad's village was from. You know,
I think
like
some of our whanaugas don't know where India is.
didn't leave the grounds, that didn't leave the reservation. That's why. But yeah, but there's been a lot of learning and growing over the years, and it's kind of come full circle now. So that's good.
Yeah, no, beautiful. But just on the twin thing, is there any, you know how people say like, oh, like I got a sore knee and then my twin felt it. Like, is there any of those buzzers with you and your sister?
Always. That is a true thing to the bone. Well, with me and my sister anyway. So when we were born feet to feet. She's left-handed, I'm right-handed. So we're mirror twins. And we've felt like that was an even more, you know, more of a connection. And like I always knew when she was hapu. I knew one time she had been in a car crash. If she has like a headache or a migraine or something in the night, she'll message me and go, hey, is this mine or is this yours? Like,
oh, true. That's what it's like. Hey?
Yeah. She'll be like, oh, I feel fine, but I've just got this random ass headache. Like,
I don't know. I'm hungover.
I've had a migraine for 2 days. So and then she'll be like, oh yeah, it's yours. Okay, cool.
Oh, okay. So what if you get if you get on the piss and then does she feel it or what?
No,
not that bad. I can't keep up.
I love you, sis.
Always, shout out to the sis. What's her name? Or no, we don't have to broadcast it if you don't want to.
Yeah, no, her name is Sheena. Oh, so we're both given Punjabi and English names. So her name is Jasvinder Sheena, and I was Ravinder Marie. So
Jasvinder and Ravinder.
Yeah.
What's the whakapapa behind those names? You got it, or
no idea.
You know?
My name, no idea. My name is like a simple Simon name, and
there's a common.
It's a male name
in the Punjab. Oh, true.
Yeah. So if you were to Google the name Ravinder Singh, you'll never find me.
Oh, true. Is your dad one of those? Is he a Singh?
Yeah.
He's a Singh.
It's my maiden name. Yeah.
That's a Smith of India.
Absolutely a Smith. Yeah.
100. Hey, shout out to the very Singh. Can you though, sis?
Huh?
Can you?
Can I
sing?
Sing? Oh. I mean, I don't like brag or anything.
Yeah. Not the Mariah of the 90s or Mariah of now. No.
More so now.
Yeah. Oh, that's wicked. Not a. So how long the parents been split for now?
I think I was 15, 16. It's been years.
How was that?
Absolutely years. We're both
Was that
remarried,
hard for
living their
you?
lives.
Yeah, was that hard for you, or was that easy at that time for you? Like
Oh
having.
no, it was super hard. It was super hard. I mean, I was, a teenager just trying to find my way, and then we had all these changes happening. Not that it was a surprise, like it was always,
Mm.
there was always a bit of conflict around in the house. So it was upsetting yet relieving at the same time, which I think was, the story for a lot of kids who go through divorce. Me and my sister, we have this thing where we say we were part of that divorce era because
Ooh.
this was like early to mid, what was it? Oh no, about 98, 99. Parents started divorcing when before that you would never see people divorcing,
Oh, so
it
the
just never
millennia
happened, like
around
with
here.
kids at school and things. And so we were like, oh, we
Oh,
were part of that, part of the divorce era of of things changing in New Zealand and us catching up with the rest of the world, in terms of social things like that.
yeah. Oh, well, that's interesting. Because you're right. When you talk about it, like, I hear so many stories of like my grandmother and grandfather were
Mm,
together for 40, 50, 60,
yeah.
80 years. Sometimes I think fucking, yeah, but your grandmother hated your grandfather.
I was gonna say that they hated each other.
That's the thing, though. It wasn't a social norm to be divorced
Nah,
there. So like it was frowned upon, or you were like be cast away from your partner in some
yeah,
instances if you got
yeah,
divorced. So,
pretty much. And you throw religion in the mix, it's
yeah,
tenfold. So
yeah, and that's a big reason, a big driver of,
mm,
I reckon, the reasoning
yeah,
behind people being,
yeah,
cast out of their partners or whatever.
yeah. But my
Yeah.
mum had to like my mum had an interesting journey with my dad when I look back now. Like
Okay.
there was an expectation of her to be a Punjabi wife. She had never grown up in that environment before. She had to wear the traditional dresses, cook traditional food. Um, and that traditional food a lot of the time was vegetarian or slash vegan type food. Just to be that stay at home. She had dreams,
Oh,
aspirations. She was a
true.
qualified nurse and all of that, but that
Yeah.
just wasn't how Punjabi women were,
Ah,
or that's not what you did as a wife. That wasn't
yeah.
part of the job description.
You stayed
Um,
home and looked after the tamariki, cooked, and that was it. Like,
yeah, and
and did
you
she
try
grow
and
up? Oh, sorry. Guess this. I
and,
don't know me.
no, I
Sorry.
was just saying, like, even down to saying what's on your mind and all these sorts of things. You kind of had to know your place and all of that. So it was a huge adjustment. And later on in life, when I look back, I was just like, yeah, it makes sense
Yeah.
why that just later on, once we grew up, that was no longer a situation she wanted to be in.
Yeah, because didn't have to like babies anymore, so it doesn't have to do all that mahi. And now it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not being myself. I want
yeah.
sort of a change. No, understandable. Did your mum grow up like Maori, like on the pa and all that kind of stuff, like around
Not on
the
the
culture?
par, but she was whāngai to her grandmother. So my great
Okay.
grandmother raised her, and the cousin. They hooked up with my dad's cousin. Yeah, they were
Oh
raised
yeah,
together.
those sorts.
Yeah.
Oh, like, oh, so they were raised like sisters. See, yeah.
Yeah, they were raised on the homestead out in Paingaroa, just outside of Te Puke, and yeah, just lived this country bumpkin life, and all their cousins are their siblings and best friends, and yeah, was all about fresh air and go home when the street lights come on, and it was pretty cool. But and she had this relationship with her grandmother, like to her grandmother was her mother, and that was a beautiful relationship too. So it was all very carefree, but strict, of course, because I think in the 60s it was always quite strict. But yeah, meeting my dad was just living on a different planet, but at the same time it was love as well, so and
Of
that
course.
part was new for like my dad, who you don't get married for love, you get married by arrangement. So
Yeah, it's like, yeah. How does that work exactly? Like, do you understand it? Like, how does that work? Like, what's the go like between? Is it status sort of driven, or like what you can, if you're what you can provide the family? Is it like that, or with the
yeah,
arranged stuff?
that's part of it. So it's usually between the parents, like families who know other families, Because when you're in like in India in the same village, everyone knows everyone, and here when you go, everyone knows everyone here too.
Yeah.
But especially when you're at temple all the time and you have relationships with people and you have children around the same generation or whatever, everyone knows what each other's children are doing in terms of occupations or jobs or assets or whatever. And then they're like, you know what? I think your son might be a great fit for my daughter. Do you think it's time that, is your daughter ready to get married? Our son's ready to get married. Shall we make this happen? Blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like that. Like I've got cousins who never met their husbands until the day, until the ceremony day. Yeah. Times have kind of changed now, like modern wise.
First sight, actually.
It's a transaction, it very much is a transaction. It's not based on, oh yeah, this guy's got great jokes. My daughter loves jokes. It's not that.
Yeah. Wait, I just think about it. Yeah, and I think thinking about it, and I understand. That's the culture. Over there. Fuck, I'm glad I'm Māori, sister. I don't want my mum choosing my fucking girlfriend or wife.
Imagine that.
Yeah, stuff that.
Well, at the same time, it's old school, and Māori did kind of do this in the past, to keep our bloodline, so there was an element of it, just not so.
Yeah, well,
not so
probably more status, or like, especially if you were in certain echelons of the iwi or the hapu, I guess, but different then, because like that's pretty much everybody how they get married over those ways, eh? I mean, good on the go hard, cousins, it works for you. And there's probably like a lot of the whānau, like I know a lot of quite wealthy Indians that I've met over the years, or like they got a lot of so this probably helps that as well. So maybe we should look into it, whānau. What if they get married? My son
obviously didn't go down that path.
Oh, hey, did it work out? You didn't get you a billionaire, sis.
My dad didn't hook that up.
No. But you obviously speaking on you growing up in it, and like, where did you go to Kura? You moved to Auckland at 4 years old. Well, you and your sister would have been 4 years old. So yeah, where did you end up going? So I guess high schools usually, but even primary, you said South Auckland. What are we talking about? Whereabouts?
We started in Otahuhu, so we were at Durban Road Primary School. Then we moved to Otara, so then we were at Beards Primary School on Beards Road, and then we ended up in Mangere East, went to Papatoetoe North Primary School. But after that was Otahuhu College is where we went.
That's a fun, a lot of pretty cool alumni, eh? And obviously Ravinder Hunia being at the top of the pile. It's like David Longy, David Tua, like Roger Tuivasa, Ravinder Hunia at the top. Let's go. 100%. What was Kura like there? What was school like at Otahuhu?
It was good. At the same time, my sister and I were probably the fairest of the students on the more fairer side. So there was, a bit of bullying involved and that sort of thing. It was predominantly Indian, Māori, Polynesian. Back then, there were no, because my mum's a real fair Māori, so we looked like Pākehā, and that's how we used to get bullied for it.
Did you look more like, because you don't look Hati Indian, so did you look like more like the mum side?
Look exactly like my mum's side. There's things that we have of my dad, but we have a younger sister who's 2 years younger than us, and she is like a spitting image of my dad. Like has the long thick hair, like real dark features, dark skin, and looks exactly like my dad. But it was. I mean, that probably was one thing, but I mean, it gave us a thick skin, and when growing up, you don't really think about it too much until later on. You're just like, oh yeah, this is just what happens kind of thing. But no, it was, Otahuhu College was cool. I'm actually going back there soon to have a kōrero with some students at an assembly, and so that'll be cool. Yeah.
Who was there? Was there any like guns there when you were there? Like that kicked on to greater things like yourself?
Already IE was there, and he's been on this podcast, hasn't he?
Yes. This shout out.
So he
Oh,
was
he was
there.
there too. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. His sister was the same year as me, so so he was there. Who else was there? Brad Anderson was our head boy. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he's done a lot of work with the Sevens.
Oh, okay.
Wakaama,
Oh, Wakama.
Wakaama
Yeah.
Pela.
Yeah, the Wakama.
Yeah, so he's done amazing things as well. Has Beats. I don't know if you've heard
Oh,
of him.
true. Has.
Homebrew. Yeah,
Yeah. Of course.
he was my
Like
year.
Tom Scott's like my favorite rapper of all time, nearly. Like and of all time. Like literally. Like I think as a lyricist, he's crazy. But like
Yeah,
obviously,
he's amazing.
without the beats, you know what I mean, to rap over too. It's just a cappella. So yeah, no, for
Yeah,
sure, Has.
so he was my year. There were a few of us that have gone on. Maybe
Nah,
not, big giant
pretty
celebrities
cool,
or
though.
anything, but making their mark.
Nah, was 100%. No, that's awesome. Sis. Where do you go to from? You finish high school? What do you go to uni? What's the go?
Got a
You
job.
go to you
Yeah.
didn't become a doctor? Nah, the stereotyping.
No, I have any of the maths genes or the science genes. I finished school in the sixth form and didn't go any further, and just wanted to get a job. So my sister had already had a baby and got a job by that point, and I wanted to do the same thing. The mum and dad thing was all up in the air. I just
Yep.
needed some independence and just start living. Had to grow up pretty fast, and so I just got a job with my sister as a courier.
Oh, true.
So we were doing couriers for a few years, and then I went to look after my nephew, my sister's son, because she needed someone to take him to kohanga every day, and said, "Oh, I can do that." And so I was taking him every day, and then I kind of thought, "Oh, I could work with kids. Like I could help in this environment and become a kayako. Like this could be a pretty cool path." So
Okay.
I did that. Yeah. So I was there working with Pepe and sitting some reo papers because obviously it was kohanga reo. So had to,
The
brush up
kohanga.
on my reo, and I was basically
You
learning
didn't go to
kohanga.
kohanga? Nah.
Nah. So I went through all mainstream schools.
Was
Um,
kohanga much of was it really a thing, or was it just beginning when you were like Pepe noiho tamaiti?
I feel like it was a thing, but it was only a thing if you knew people in those circles, if
Okay.
you knew those hearty ones. But because we were such a nuclear family and kept to our own kind of things, we didn't run in those circles. So when you think
Okay.
back about, the 80s was when it started. I was
Yeah.
100% not as popular as we see now,
Huge
where they're
now, eh?
listed around like daycares now, which is cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome, though. Eh?
Yeah, so good, so amazing, and there's an absolute future in learning te reo Māori now. It's acknowledged and respected as such. So amazing. And
No,
back
but
then,
Prime Minister.
I hope he's watching. Okay, trying to wind the clock back, but yeah. We just need maybe we need an Obama or something. I don't know.
Oh, but Obama, you reckon, eh?
Rock the
Yeah,
boat.
no. Oh no, sweet. Yes. So, you didn't learn that, but you're enjoying your mahi at the kohanga, and like
Yeah.
what kind of papers was it hard? Like how was it hard to get into, or pretty easy?
It was like an AFI type thing. So if you
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to work, then you can do these papers, sort of thing.
Oh.
If you were employed. So I was like in a kai awhina role. I wasn't a kayako at that time.
Okay.
Just supporting and because babies are babies at the same time. It's not easy to teach, under
Yeah.
twos and things like that. And so I was there more of in a support role because I was still just there for my nephew. And then it wasn't until I spent a bit of time there and I was like, oh yeah, I could implement some programs and activities, waiata, karakia, da da da. And that program just kind of helped me with the tools that I needed to learn all of those fundamental things to be able to put things in place. And it was so fun because then I started having my own children and I was still working in that space and
Oh,
had
gee.
also, yeah, so they just, came to work with me, which made life so much easier.
How many
Um,
tamariki do you have, if you don't mind me
I have
asking?
3.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, me too. 3. 3, that's
Yeah.
enough.
Oh, my
Shout out to
son's
the
about
best
to
blessings.
turn my son's going to turn 21 in January, so
Oh, true.
I'll be knocking on Nana status soon, I'm guessing.
Yeah, kuya. Yeah, nanny. Nanny Ravinder. That's it. Um, and then where do you go from there? Do you progress? Obviously, where do you go from there? From the kohanga?
Yeah. So
What's the next step?
from there, I was like, because I was working at Te Wānanga Aotearoa at the time,
Oh, true.
on there, yeah, on those grounds. And at that time, there was a change in CEO. The place where I was working was closing down, so I had to look for something else. So I ended up getting a job at Plunkett. So it was still working with tamariki, but now I was helping, mamas after they had baby to, settle them into home and
Well, we're
make
like a
sure
midwife.
that they're healthy. Yeah, well, it's basically a help to that. So I'm not
Okay.
like helping them give birth or anything, but
Okay.
yeah, just helping with the aftercare for the first 6 weeks of mum going home with baby and settling into home life. So I used to hold seminars and things like that, and give some tips and tricks to help them, which still kind of aligned with what I was doing with tamariki initially. But I don't want to discredit the mahi, but I kind of got bored of it and I wanted to move on to something else. And
No, understandable. You be for better
yeah,
things. Oh, not better
yeah,
things,
yeah,
just different things. Different
yeah.
things. Eh?
But I still liked being in that mahi of service. So I wanted to. So I got a job. I got a job at council, and I got after working at Manukau City Council, I became a case manager at Work and Income for 5 years
Oh, gee, Winz.
at the mahi office. Yeah,
What does that job entail? Case manager. Uh,
that
are you the one
entails
that my aunties lied to that they?
I could sniff them out, I tell you. Nah, it was the job, and I mean, you can talk about all the technical stuff around it, but you were basically people's friend, case manager, counselor, teacher. There were all these sort of hats that you kind of had to wear with people, especially when you're dealing with people's money. There had to be
Oh,
this
yeah.
big sense of trust when it came to money and livelihoods and people who need help in a tough situation. So when I became a case manager, New Zealand was going through its recession under the national government back then, before
Mm,
Labor were in power, and
yeah.
so there were a lot of redundancies and all this sort of thing. So that was my job. I was working on the unemployment side and helping reintegrate people back into mahi.
Oh, true. Did you enjoy that, Mahi?
I did enjoy that mahi, and even I learned a lot too. Because man, when you think about making a CV and
Yeah,
cover
yeah.
letters and blah blah blah. Everyone hates to do that. So I learned a lot, of skills myself along the way because I was still fairly young myself. But yeah, I went on there for 5 years and started to get a bit of itchy feet. While at the same time, this is what I was doing for mahi, but bubbling under the surface at home. I'm just a sports nut. I love sport. I love
Yeah.
watching sport. I love,
Like all your
my kids.
life, you always been
No, no.
no,
It was more later in life where I kind of I mean, we always had remember when David Tua boxing was free
cool.
to air, and the
Yeah.
All Blacks were free to air, the netball was free to air. So the sport was always on.
Yeah.
It just wasn't and my dad, this is gonna sound horrible, but
Cricket.
my dad was obsessed with the cricket, yeah.
Yeah, of course,
So
of course.
those things were always on, and it was a part of our fabric, but I'd never thought of doing something in life to follow sport as a job. Like when you think about, a lot of people would think about sport as if you want to work in sport, you have to be an athlete, but people don't really think about the other avenues that you can actually
Yeah,
take to
so
be a
many,
part.
so
Yeah, to be a
many
part of
other.
sport and not having to take the court or the field. So when I was a bit older and I understood all of this, like management and journalism and all these supporting things, I was like, I think I could go all right on that. So I had a friend who was leaving Work and Income and becoming a recruitment officer for a TV agency, and she said to me, "Hey, there's a job going at Māori television. Would you ever be keen to have a job there?" And I was like, well, "What is it?" And she said, "It's an archive librarian." So, yeah. So every news place, any TV place really has an archive, and you have librarians are the people that create that system and upkeep the archive system. So it was the job was to like it doesn't just happen itself, and like
that's true.
when you watch like a game, like say All Blacks and Springboks, and then they have all that archive, that old school,
when they bring it back from the 1989 match or whatever they are. All of that's archived somewhere.
That has to be archived somewhere for people to get to put into these, so it's all those sorts of things. And so I was like, I could do that. Like my job would literally be to sit down, watch a game, shot list it, which means letting you know who scored a try at what point in the game.
Right up there. I want to do that job.
I can find that game and I can find that try and it's on that tape and it's at this time. And so, I got that job, and then the rest.
How's the memory? Is your memory being like? You got a sharp memory, or?
I've been made to have a sharp memory, I feel, in this job. Like you kind of have to think, I can do this, and then if I can relate it to that, and because that happened then, and blah 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 blah, and things kind of start turning systematically. And when you become an archive librarian, when you're always working in dates, times, and things, it kind of comes. You kind of build up that skill. Yeah.
Who did you like? What teams did you support? Like in there, like, or even I don't know, because you see, growing up wasn't so much into it, but I guess when you started getting into your sports, like into rugby league at all, like, or
this house is a rugby league house, so I know that I predominantly do, MMA, netball, but this house is rugby league all day.
Yeah, like by who they? By who they? By who they?
No, we're a big Warriors household, obviously.
Yeah, same as obvious fuckingly. No, like I just I know there's a few bandwagoners out there these days, but we've been thick and thin. We've been thick and thin out here. Even on
since 95.
That's it, 95 all my life. Like, I love them more than the All Blacks, cuz.
You know what? Not foreign to hear that. Absolutely not in my friendship circle anyway. I think we've only got one friend who is like a hearty All Blacks person, but besides that, man, we're at Mount Smart. We can't even remember the last time we went to Eden Park to watch a rugby game, Like,
well, don't get me wrong, like I love the All Blacks too, but I just feel like you give us one premiership, that's like fucking 20 World Cups for the All Blacks. The boys been dominating since before we was even thought of, you know what I mean? So that's different than all the, especially going through all the struggles that we've gone through as fans, the roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I was talking to Kai Kara France, who's obviously the Warriors wrestling coach, he was talking about how the Warriors are in basically a car crash every single week. Our All Blacks don't. I mean, they play in the Super Rugby and things like that, but at the highest level, they're regularly. The season is super long. They're in there,
Rugby. And the Super Rugby players that play for All Blacks, a lot like they get rested every second week too now with the load management. Like over here, I'm in Perth, so we don't get much game. So if I'm a Chiefs fan, but if the Chiefs come, or even some of the other Super Rugby teams from home, you go to watch. Everyone's gonna go watch their favorite All Black from their team. Next minute, load management. Oh, I get it, sports science and all that, but
it's getting more and more as the years go on. I find as the technology keeps creeping on in, that gets more and more strict, like the mouth guard thing that's happening at the moment. So
Holy rick.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's crazy. Even speaking to some
Yeah.
of the people, like even some of the brothers, because in the Super League and the
Mm,
Rugby League, Super League in England, and speaking to some of the boys there because it's a bit looser over there. We were just
mm,
talking about it, but like they're just tripping out at some of the things they see coming out there. Even in obviously World Rugby because it's implemented over there as well, their mouth
yeah.
guard thing. Right. Trippy. Well, but then what do you do? Because like you can sit here and moan about it. Like obviously I'm just a couch potato. They're watchers, but but we can sit here and watch and moan about it. But like those governing bodies are gonna do what they're gonna do. Yeah. It's got to like sort of conform. It's like
That's it.
the shoulder charge when they took that out, everybody moaned. But if you thought about shoulder charges, they're like a 30% chance of coming off. Like most of the time, there's injuries or you miss. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like we're all thinking, of those Sunny Bill Ben Matulino highlights, but those are few and far between, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I get it what they're up to, but I think too, like a lot of the players I talk to, they say like, bro, we sign up for this, like we know what we're up to, like
Mm,
we should be allowed to at least like we know this is a contact sport, and we touch wood, it doesn't happen, but we can fucking die out there. We know that.
yeah.
Yeah, like, and we are like, I know if I run out on that field and I sign that paper, give me a waiver to sign and say that I'm all good because it's a gladiator sport. Not everyone's a
Yeah.
gladiator. Yeah.
Well, I
Mm.
just, when I'm working in my UFC world,
Yeah.
and then I hear that, I'm just like,
Actually, yeah, people are
imagine
just
if there
kidding.
was a
Yeah,
governing body for that.
wow, wow, imagine that though. Like what? Like just a jab. Oh, what? It is assessment. Sorry, cuz.
HIA, you're
Yeah,
off.
HIA for a jab, man. The first like, I was just getting warmed up out, man.
Yeah.
I just like, or like, imagine if it was like, especially like someone like, I know like a lot of city kickboxing that they don't really like to get hit, even though Kazi Dan he
Yeah.
gets amongst it. But like I know Israel and that they get out the way a lot of time and a lot of
Mm.
feints and stuff. But someone like Forrest Griffin and all those fellas, they love getting hit, or Clay Guida. Oh.
That's it. They live for it. They live for it. Well,
Yeah, hundred
and
percent.
I think that comes down to a lot of the time, sport is sport, and that's fine. But a lot of it is entertainment as well. So there's this like expectation that we're going to be blown away by this entertainment, but it's those big hits that keep us entertained. It's
Yeah,
those scraps that keep us entertained. When you think about UFC fighters and they're their own brands and they have to sell themselves to
yeah.
fans to buy the pay-per-view so that they can get paid, man. So
And
that's
how
why you
good?
see them, yeah, Max Holloway,
Yeah.
Justin Gaethje going at it the way they did at
Oh,
300.
wow.
Mm.
I was gonna get into that later, but okay, let's go. Let's go. What where were you at? What where were you at? Where do you watch the fights and that? Like now that you cover it all and all that, where do you watch those?
I usually
Like where did
watch
you
it at
watch them?
home, but this one
Oh,
I
okay.
made the effort to go up to the local, so the local got behind it.
Oh yeah.
Had some like UFC 300 specials and blah blah blah. So I was like, oh yeah, we'll go up there and we'll watch it up there. Zero regrets doing that because man, it
Wow.
was so cool to watch it with a big group of people and just to
Yeah.
feel that vibe of everyone getting so excited about it because man, yeah, it was epic.
Yeah, okay. But like if you're gonna call it a BMF title and you're gonna the bro had it wrapped up there. The bro didn't give a damn. Let's go, cuz.
Yeah,
Hey,
we already had
Aramai.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck.
But what he
He's the
did was
man. Like I know Volko and like big Volko fan, obviously city kickboxing,
mm,
but still like to see Max Max like outs like Max has been a weapon for years for
yeah,
outside of the Volko fights and like obviously Connor got him early and so did Dustin a bit later, but outside of that he beat everybody.
yeah. Well, he's even fighting all of those names constantly. There's no
Yeah.
fight that isn't big, for Max Holloway. So I thought going into that fight, I thought Justin Gaethje was going on an upward trajectory. And I thought Max perhaps not absolutely peaked, but isn't going in that same kind of direction as Justin was. So for him to pull that out against Justin, and it wasn't even his weight division, was just
Yeah, hard.
I was proven wrong. Like
Actual
man,
though,
and now
eh?
the world is your oyster. Mm.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, breaking the bro's nose in the first round helps. That helps a lot. And what a warrior to keep
Breathing so
going, eh?
overrated.
Yeah, What a warrior, though. Just soldier on, me. Okay, no.
right?
Gaethje's still a beast too, though. Hey, don't get it twisted.
Oh,
Yeah. You're a
everyone else would
beast
have
to
been
get in there.
crying.
No, hard. And literally because your eyes water.
Yeah.
So I guess or going back to the archive thing, we'll come back to your how you ended
Yeah.
up there. With but so how long are you in that librarian role for?
Yeah, I stayed in there for about 5 years as well. When I was employed there, I was brought on for the 2011 Rugby World Cup in Auckland. So it was a
Oh,
great
true.
time to be a part, of sport
Wow.
and at Māori TV. So I cracked it with that one. But yeah, just stayed on and carried on doing my archiving thing. And I mean, it's a job that you love and enjoy and things like that. But I was like thinking, in a place like Māori television, what else is there? What else can I do, to grow and whatever, and, make more money. And
Yeah, of
my
course.
my another component of my job too was to help the news reporters fill holes in their stories. So they'll go out and shoot a story
Yep.
and come back to me and say, hey, can I get some vision? I've gone out and shot a story of the Silver Ferns. I just need some pictures of them playing in the Constellation Cup last year. Can you pull that out for me? I'm like, yep. So I'll do that. So there were a few things that I was able to do to help graph stories together. And then I sort of started thinking to myself, man, I could put stories together. Like I feel like I could do what they're asking me to do and put a whole story together. So that's when I kind of started getting the itch to tell stories, because even though I left school in the sixth form, English was my jam. I loved writing
Oh, true.
stories. Yeah, that was I was weird like that. Handwriting, essays, storytelling, speeches, all those sorts of things is
Yeah.
what
You
kept
would
me
have been
going.
my homie. Sis, got us. Can you write this thing for us?
How much do you like writing those essays?
Yeah. Oh,
I will
sis, I
buy
got a
you a
couple.
pie.
Yeah. I got a couple pies on the line. Sis, if you got us. Yeah. Yeah, true. Yes, go. Oh, so you must got the Mackie handwriting, sis.
You know what? And very proud of it, because man,
Yeah.
no one handwrites anymore. So
Can't even read them.
I'm always on card duty, birthday cards, Christmas
Oh,
cards.
yeah. Nah, this 100%. Even those permission slip ones there.
Oh,
Did
give me
anyone
a
get you to write some of
signature.
those?
Give me any signature.
Yes, solid. But even though you like enjoy telling stories and it, like journalism per se hadn't been like in your mind, or it had like to be that
No,
way, like nah.
I kind of just wanted to do this stuff and then learned that, oh, this is journalism. Like it kind of found me in a way, if you put it that way.
Yep.
Because I wanted to do so my interest was obviously the craft first, right? Telling stories and all that sort of thing. But then I started down the path of, well, who are we telling stories of or about? Or who should we be covering? Or why aren't we covering that? So then it started turning into like, not a crusade, but by that point I was, associated heavily in the New Zealand MMA scene, which got
Okay.
zero coverage. And we were, Israel Adesanya was, King of the Ring champion. There were a few people, Joseph Parker was at his peak then, but we weren't really
Oh, we might
doing
be heading
anything.
for another peak. Hey, you might be heading for another peak now. That we'll see. Those is
Oh,
all
yeah.
right. Nah, be the
Yeah.
man.
So there were
But they
heaps of
both the
cool
man.
things happening that I thought in the non-minority sports we weren't covering but could do a better job of. So I
Yeah.
started to think about, okay, if I want to do stories and I want to create them and get really good at it, what would my niche be? Because in New Zealand, there's how many hundreds of netball reporters? There's there's no
Yeah.
room
Yeah.
for in rugby or cricket. And I was like,
Yeah.
there is no one talking about New Zealand MMA, and we should be. And I was already
Yeah.
in the community. So I was like, well, who better than
How
me?
did you get into the community? Like, were you training at a gym or something? Or like, what's the go there?
My
Like, how did you get?
husband had been training jiu-jitsu for 20 years, so he used to
Is he ready for Gordon Ryan or what?
he used to train under big Gordon Ryan. He used to train under Steve Oliver, who at the time was Mark Hunt's jiu-jitsu coach in the UFC. So
shout out to
there
big wolves.
was, you know, with just that association, there was like, wow, do you know who you are? Well, look at these people at this gym. Then yeah, so there were a lot of cool things happening that a lot of people didn't know about. And as we know, like at the same time, if you don't have the exposure, if you don't have that acknowledgement or, you know, backing, you don't get the funding, you don't get the support by those, you know, high performance type establishments, or, you know, even a sponsorship for our athletes to even compete. So in order for that to work or to start, you know, they needed to get some publicity going behind them. So I used to, you know, I started there with writing articles about that. My first ever story that I ever wrote was a jiu-jitsu sports story about
But
my
how do
two.
you know? Oh, sorry, it's just did you say your two jiu-jitsu coaches?
Mm.
Yeah, how do you get that? Like, did you like say, hey, yeah, I wanna like let me put the story in here? Like, how do you know how does that work? Like
So
to get
with
it published or whatever.
yeah, so when back then, which was 2015, 14,
Yep.
there was a little internet publication thing called New Zealand Fighter, who you could submit things to, and they would put it up on their website as like a, hey, this
Oh,
is
I seen
happening,
some of
or
those.
hey, have you heard of
Yeah,
this person? It was more like a bulletins board type thing.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to that person and I said, oh, this would be a good place to start. And I'll say to him, hey, I've got, you know, two jiu-jitsu coaches who are going to be competing at a nationals tournament this weekend. I'm going down. If I write something about, you know, their journey, how they place, you know, how it all went, la la la, would you publish it on your website? And he said, yeah, 100% we will. And I was like, okay, cool. So I followed our jiu-jitsu coaches from our gym, who had decided, one was, I think they were both brown belt at the time. So, you know, competing at a brown belt was before black belt. So they were competing at a high level, which would make for cool stories. And I said, I'll go down there, I'll stalk them for the day, take photos of them, write an article, have a cordial with them as well for them to give me their feedback on how they felt that the competition went. And yeah, then I got home, put it all together and submitted it and carried on doing it.
True. And so what you're doing, while you're still at Whakaata Māori, or had you moved on by then?
I was still at Whakaata Māori at the time. And I was at the same time, I had like my boss slash my TV mum slash my mentor, Linda Moana, who is still at Whakaata Māori now. She was always the one saying, yes, Ravinder, do this. Because at the same time, I was just like, I'm not a journalist yet. I'm not a reporter yet. You know, so I'm lacking the confidence. Should I actually do this? Should I actually whatever? And then she's like, what's stopping you? You know, so I had a person who I felt was backing me in all the ways
Yeah.
that I needed to be backed,
Yeah.
you know, as
Shout
well.
out to
So I had
Auntie.
my little
Yeah.
village, you know, pumping my tires,
That's it.
fanning my
Yeah.
flames.
Yeah.
And then she said to me, have you ever done any work in front of a camera before? And I was like, well, obviously not. And then she says, have you, and then she goes, have you ever thought of doing some modeling? And I was like, what's that got to do with, you know, with what I want to do? And she said, what modeling will do for you is get you confidence in front of a camera that, you know, the camera won't phase you. You'll
Ooh.
be able to deliver a product and then you'll have, she goes, because obviously you have confidence issues anyway. So if you do that and you know, don't think of the camera as this intimidating thing, then hopefully that'll help you later on to deliver what you want. And I was like, I'll give it a go. At this point, I'm like 30, 31, mother of
Oh, I
three.
thought you
I'm
were
like,
31 Nelsus. No.
correct. That was a
That's
test.
right.
No. So I was like, okay, well, I'll see where that goes. And then and working at Whakaata Māori, we, you know, not only have had news at Whakaata Māori, we had Native Affairs was a show on at the time, Code was a show at the time. So there were a lot of people coming in and out of
You're the code.
there in terms of people in the biz. And we did a lot of stories around Maori fashion designers, and they were always looking for Maori or Indigenous models to model their clothes. So I kind of got in with that, did a couple years there, did some modeling at New Zealand Fashion Week, went to Melbourne Spring Fashion Week and did some really cool things, went to some cool places.
Wow, that's cool.
Working in a kaupapa Māori
Yeah.
environment at the same time, which just turned out to be, man, priceless. And then the connections that you made along the way. So I was able to network with a lot of people along the way. And and it really did help me with what I, how I wanted to look or act or whatever in front of a camera and build that confidence. So
the Ravinder Hunia we see these days on front of the camera was a long way from being that back then, before you did the modeling in it.
Yeah, because with what I do now on UFC on Sky, man, the camera is like your workmate. Like I sit in a studio that's like bot cameras, so there's no cameramen in my studio. They're all bot cams, and my director sits in another room and he's just controlling it, and I talk to him through an earpiece. So, these are my teammates that are in the office with me, and I look after them and they look after me.
But when you think about the stories of, like, let's say Lisa Carrington being on the water as a kid, you know what I mean, like, building up to that gold medal, in a way that was your trainings, just because, like, you never had any, like, going to doing these modeling, like Auntie Linda was on, she was on.
Absolutely was.
Even this, like, I've only been doing I've only been doing an official podcast since January. And there'll be like 100 and I think about 120 something episodes. I just pumped them out. Like, I'm in a position where I can do this every day. Like, it's fun. I enjoy it. But I streamed on TikTok for like three years as a ranked in there. I got number 1 and all the rankings over there, stuff like that. So I think that stuff prepared me to be able to just have these, sometimes, like, I got another 2 more after this, and then I got to stream the game, or I don't know, 1 more, sorry, and then I got to stream the Warriors game, because me and the bros, we watched the Warriors game on stream. But I think, again, just like that, if I didn't have those years on TikTok streaming and even Instagram, I used to do a big live show on there. Never turned it into an RSS feed, never podcasted. I don't think I'd be prepared to do this now, even though in my mind I had the intent to create 5 years ago. I think I'm more kōriri now. So it's cool hearing that. It's inspirational, sister, to hear that you weren't this you then.
There's a lot of, like, I take a lot of pride in all of that and all the grafting you have to do, right, to get to where you want to be. And then when you think about, okay, this is where I want to be, and then you actually get there, you're like, okay, what next? There's never the mountain always gets higher and higher, because you always climb to the top, and then there's the next one.
Set the next thing.
And then it's up to you, like, and when you get to the top, you'll find that doors start opening for you, and then it's up to you whether you walk through them or not. But there's no blueprint to it. There's no, I get a lot of questions from other Māori journalists, females, who are looking for a way, how do I get in, or how do I get to this organization? How do I do this, that, and the other? And I'm just like, well, there's no real
I can't really tell you. It's just like, I did this,
and then this happened, and unless you walk behind me as a tail for the last 10 years, then I don't know what to tell you. But I think a lot of it is down to who you are as a person and the personality that you have. Like, you would know that it's not easy to just talk to strangers and have like and things like that.
It's just on that. Sorry to cut you off, but I grew up and I went to like 17 different primary schools as a kid, so I think that probably prepared me for talking to strangers. I've always had to, and in a way, it sucks because it wasn't until I was like 26 or something that I lived in a house for longer than a year in my whole life. Like, I just moved, like even some troubled youth, all that kind of stuff. But I think, and as shit as sometimes the upbringing was, there was also a lot of blessings and a lot of, like, the way I am today is shaped by that. So I think that probably contributed, because I've always been easy to make friends, and because you have to, like, every year you go to a new school, or every couple of terms you go to a new school. Anyway, carry on. Sorry, sister.
Yeah, that would definitely do it. Because, man, you remember back in the day. Well, I don't know if you would, but you could like call up KFC and it was like free delivery for KFC or Pizza Hut. Like, you didn't have to pay for delivery, and it was just I would have been keen. And my mum and dad always used to make me ring. I was so shy, I couldn't even pick up the phone.
Oh, true, just to call them.
I could not do that. Yeah.
Like how old were you at this stage? Like when that you'd still be whakamā to do it?
Huh?
How old were you when you'd still be shy to do it?
like 10, 11.
Oh, true.
This is landline phones too,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you don't know who you're
Ancient
talking to
thing.
really. But yeah, I was like so shy, like sickly shy, But then at Otahuhu College, like I joined the kapaka group. I'd never be in the front row. Always make sure I'd never be in the front row, but I still wanted to be a part of it, but not center of attention in it. But just wanted to like cope, like being in a kaupapa Māori environment. I
Yeah.
always felt like I thrived in it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this is cool. The people around me, I
'Cause the-
can relate to, and all that sort of thing. So going through this journalism thing, and then when people are asking me, about it, I was just like, damn, like I don't know, like it's just so unique to me as a person. Like I just wouldn't do that because I don't feel comfortable in doing that culturally, or
Yeah. Has there any been any along your journey of journalism? Has there been anything where you're like, I don't want to do that, cuz? Like, you know what I mean? Like, has there been anything like that you can speak on, or nah?
Yeah, I mean, when I moved from, because when I was working at Whakata Māori, I got to a point where I just wanted to be a reporter now, or I just
Mm.
wanted to go out and shadow and work really hard towards being that. And I felt, because I still didn't have te reo Māori, at a fine art compared to, all the other journos who had been there, who had come through kura kaupapa, and,
Mm.
English was their second language. I wasn't up to scratch with them. So I thought to myself, although I love being here, I need to find an opportunity. It's not going to come here, and I need to accept that, which
Yep.
broke my heart. But at the same time, laid down a bit of a challenge for me, a bit of a tunnel to be like, okay, where to from here? What can we do? So me and Mike McRoberts used to do the
Oh,
same te reo classes together. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I'm looking to move out of Māori television, because it wasn't Whakata Māori back then, and move into mainstream to see what I can offer in mainstream media. Is there anything going at News Hub, or can you point me in the direction of somebody? And then he said to me, oh, the Rio Olympics are coming up. We're actually looking for what you do at Māori television at News Hub in the archive space. And I said,
oh,
yep.
true.
Yeah. And I said, yep, I'll do it. And it was 100% 10 steps backwards, but it was my foot in the door into News Hub. So I took it and I went in there, and taking it was cool. And doing all the mahi there was cool, and I learned everything, but culturally gave me like the biggest kind of wake
Heck.
up call. It was like the first time I had really come out of my kaupapa Māori comfort zone. I didn't know anybody. The newsroom was really aggressive. It was very Pākehā. It was very
Oh,
male. It
true.
was very, so it was a big wake up call for me. So I had to I kind of felt like sometimes I had to hang my portai up when I walked in and then pick it up on the way back out, like, and
Oh, true.
play
Oh.
the game a little bit, because there was a
Like get
standard
the
there.
story instead of like the story, like get the story we want instead of like the like, and forget the humanity sometimes, or was there some of that?
Absolutely that.
True.
And that's the to be fair, in terms of journalism, sometimes it is that. Sometimes that is the
Mm.
story, and sometimes you are holding people to account. But there is a way to deliver that in a way that doesn't take away anybody's mana. That's how I've always tried to operate. That even those hard conversations can be dignified, and a lot of the times, but dignified doesn't get clicks. So
Yeah. So
um,
you sort of a hard one is at the same
yeah,
time.
yeah, it
It's like
is. And
I've watched a lot of your interviews just like for years, like always, like
uh,
just as a little fan, I guess. But even just like I love the way you operated. I like, didn't get clicks, but I got clicks from me and a couple of my cousins. We watched your fellas your stuff. But actually, like, and like even when I said to a couple of the family, like, oh, I got they're like, who's up, this week? Oh, I got this lady, journalist, blah, blah, blah. They're like, hey, journalist. You know what I mean? Like, in their head, they got the X straight away, like, oh, those fellow Yoha
yeah,
people. It's like, no, it's not even like that. You know what I mean? Like, but then, like you say, I understand why some people, I think some people go over the line, but the line is like, going over the line, like you said, gets clicks. So it's a hard thing. I understand.
yeah.
Balance.
being a journalist comes with a sense of responsibility, and
Mm.
I personally believe that a lot of journalists do forget that it's way more than a job. Like what we do, we can shape, we can destroy, we can help flourish people's careers, livelihoods, with a single line in a script. That's the
Yeah,
power
true.
that exposure gives. And I've always been very, very not careful, because I don't feel like I need to be careful, because that's just not me as a person. But
Mm.
it's just, there's so much respect behind that. And that when we're talking to people about these biggest moments of their lives, this is something that's going to be in their, archive, one of the biggest moments for them to look back on and to remember and to be proud of, or to look back at, to cry at, and to learn from. It's just all in the delivery. And I think even the shittiest bloody news stories can be told in a really
Yeah.
meaningful way.
Well, that's why you tip the pizza man, right? Because they have good delivery. If they
Absolutely.
have good delivery, you might give them a tip. So that's no, you're exactly right. It's just like at the end of the day, no matter how dark or whatever, you can still be good about it, or be nice, or at least like to
Yeah.
approach things different, without poking the bear somewhat, or like just having a tickle on them. Mm.
That's right. And like we were just talking about relationships and having conversations with people. And if you approach it like that, even with a really hard topic or subject, even the talent will respect you more. And I mean, that's not going to be the last time you ever speak to them. And when you speak to them again, they're going to be open to you. So you're building that foundation of trust. And then they're going to talk to other people about you and how, oh yeah, that one will look after you, or that one, they're tough, but it's all good. It's not going to blow you out of the water or anything like that. So the compassion part, the humanity part has always been big when I've been working. And man, we're just in a time now. When I started in journalism,
Hmm.
this stuff wasn't even a thing. What Trump's brought to media in terms of fake news and all of that sort of thing, that just didn't exist when I first started. Not that everyone 100% believed any little thing a journalist said, but it just reshaped the way that people view news,
Yeah.
the way that people respect news, and what people are, like people like myself actually try to do a good, decent job of it. And now it's, everyone's, painted with that same brush,
Crazy
when
though,
things
eh?
don't
Like
go their
one
way.
one
Oh, it's
statement.
absolutely crazy. Yeah.
Crazy that
Well, I
one
can't
statement
even
can.
imagine 10 years ago doing this with you. Like, this just
Yeah,
wasn't even a,
actual.
you
No,
know?
it's not even that. It's
So,
not even a thing. Like, even people said, "Oh, like it's like some, partner like, oh, everyone's doing podcasts. Why are you doing
mm,
podcasts?" Like, man, cool. Like, and there's enough air out there for us all to breathe, enough
yeah,
pay for us all to eat. That's fine. Like, I just want to do it because I wanted to do it for a long time, and I
yeah,
love sports. I love a lot of different things. I love diverse corridor. I love. And just yarning to people. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna do it because I want to and I'm able to, and that's why.
Once
But
upon a time, we couldn't get onto platforms like this and see people like ourselves
yeah,
having these conversations. Like, this was, how do I say this without offending people? Like, but this
that's the
stage,
status.
the platform was just for upper class
Yep.
people with money,
Yep.
um,
Status, all that stuff.
whiter people, the
Yep.
people
No,
that
true.
that didn't look like us, that don't talk like us, or whatever. Man, I remember when I first went into mainstream media and people used to mock me for talking like a hori, and I was just like, and
Oh, really?
there just weren't
Wow.
people like us around, to
Yeah.
represent everybody. And
Yeah.
now, even coming on this podcast to me was like a no-brainer. I'm like, hard out. I get to come on here and I get to talk to someone who's, like-minded like me, and then we can share stories. And me being on something like this helps me learn as well, because, 9 times out of 10, I'm not a guest, I'm the interviewer. So it's really cool
Mm.
to, like, iron sharpens iron. I love it.
Oh, tika tau. And that is it. Iron sharpens iron for sure. I think just hearing you speak on what you just spoke on, like, yeah, if we go back, not like Whakaata Māori only came out in the early 2000s. Let's not forget
Mm,
that too. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And before that, there was very few and far between. Like maybe you got the Te Karere segment, And then like who was it? Like Waka was around, but like
Yeah.
there wasn't like I don't like to be honest. I was like, if I was Neil Waka, like did he just like make that name? Like obviously I know now he's from Whakare, whatever, all that stuff. But when I was a kid, I was like actually Māori. Like not saying he's not Māori, but I
There's no
didn't know. You know what I mean?
profile.
It's like
You know,
he's
you never
like
saw Neil Walker in the Women's Day. You didn't know what
nah,
he was up to. You know?
hell no. No, exactly. Oh, that's funny too, because that was the days, Women's Days, like growing up, like Women's Days. Hey, if, that was new, like all the
So
new.
you
Is
found out.
Women's Day still around? Is there still a thing?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Suzanne Paul, like you know, it was all the you know, and shout out to all the you know all the Bahia ones that they were on there, Paul Holmes, all that. But yeah, we didn't see anyone like us on TV. You know what I mean? We didn't. Oh, I never, when I was a kid, I knew. So, like, that's what I think the importance of the significance of yourself in the space you're in is that, like, people can grow up and see you, whether they're an adult like yourself and end up, hey, fuck, you know, just decide to give something a go, or maybe they're a young buck. They're like, oh, I can be Ravinder one day, like, or similar. You know what I mean? I can, you know, if they don't see you, so how do they know? You know what I mean? Like that they can do that. All they're gonna think is I can be an All Black, or I can be a Black Fern, or you know, play NRLW. Or that's it. You know?
Yeah. Or even if
Even
they do
this.
want to do it, you know, working with in media on a camera or having a conversation or whatever is all part of it too. So
Yeah. Even this is like that's what I think. Like with this, like I said, I'm 32 years old. I should have pulled the trigger a long time ago. But for me, I want to try and encourage people to pull the trigger on whatever they're trying to do. You know, whatever they procrastinated on for a long time, to give it a crack. You know what I mean? What's the worst that can happen? You fall on your face, I'll get back up, hide it on you. Yeah, you know. And also just people that when I was young, all I thought we could be was like maybe you could be All Black or a Warrior, or it was one of these. Oh, I think that was that's all I thought. You know, as a kid,
that's
that's
so
what
true.
you be. You know, but like the more of our whānau that are doing different things, and like yourself, like now we know we can be a sports archive, like librarian, like you know who would have even known about that?
Yeah.
Well,
Anyone can do that.
yeah, but like someone might be like someone, you know, because some people like just and like might just nerd out to the max, and that might be their passion forever. Like they might enjoy that job forever. Like that was a stepping stone for you, a vehicle to get you in the building and get you to where you are now. But this might be someone that enjoys that to do that forever. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no. And again, there's just thank you for coming on. I won't hold you too much longer though. They were bloody just yarning your ears off. But, but yeah, just on. So you end up at News Hub, and are you still doing these stories in that bulletin, or what's going on there?
Yeah, so I get into News Hub, and they're, you know, because I'm very green then, obviously, because I was doing the archive thing over the Rio Olympics, and then the producer knew that I had aspirations of being a journalist. So he said, "Hey, we're short a journalist today. Would you mind going out with a camera and interviewing Timia?" And I was like, "Yep." And then that was it. After that, they were giving me stories to do. And when you start, 9 times out of 10, you don't say, "I'm going to go and do this story." They give you stories, and then you're kind of on a learning thing, you know, apprenticeship or whatever, for a little while. And then I started putting ideas forward about, oh, hey, there's this story here. Do you think, you know, could I go out here and do it? They'll say yes or no. But for me, the no's started turning into yeses because I just, you know, kept harping on at them. And my first story at News Hub was that I had sourced was about 3 little girls who were Muay Thai world champions. And they were about to go to another World Cup with the Black Gloves. And I thought, this is cool. Like the youngest sister was like 6 years old, I think. So I was like 6, 8, and 10. And so I said, I want to go to this gym and interview these, you know, these little warriors and show what they have. And so I did. And I got to do that story, and I had a Sunday feature, and then kind of catapulted from there. And I'm still friends with, like, those girls are growing up now. And the youngest one, the little 6-year-old who won that world championship title, she's training out of City Kickboxing now. Her older sister's at Peach Boxing. So they've gone on to do amazing things. And their mum and I are good friends now. So it was a story worth fighting for in more ways than one. But I had to fight a lot to tell stories about like Israel Adesanya. I had
Yeah.
to fight for those combat stories, especially because Izzy a lot of the time was competing outside of New Zealand, and New Zealand didn't really take notice of things happening abroad to fighters with low profile. So it was hard to convince them, should I say, to go.
Did you
So I
notice
had to
this, like
say,
back then? What's
huh?
it? Sorry. What's it?
No, I was like, I had to fight to say one day. The line I said to my producer was, "This guy will be in the UFC one day. He will be in the UFC, and if we don't cover him now, we're going to miss the boat."
Yeah.
And then he said to me, "I'll give you 30 seconds in the bulletin to say something with some pictures, just to
Yeah.
mention his name in the bulletin." I was like, "Okay, that's all I need. It's a start."
Yeah.
So I did. He was at Glory Kickboxing at the time, and they gave me 30 seconds to do that. Dan Hooker was already in the UFC at the time. We still weren't covering him.
That's
But
crazy, eh?
I
That's
know,
crazy, man.
absolutely. So then I started going to fight nights and either doing ring announcing or post-fight interviews for our local cards.
Yeah.
And on those cards, Izzy was still competing on them. A lot of the fighters that we see now, we're still competing on them. So I got to build relationships with them, and thinking to myself, this is going to pay off later on, because hopefully they trust me to know that I do give a crap about the sport. I do know what I'm talking about. I do know what they're doing, and this will pay off down the long run. And sure enough, it did. And then to where we are now, making a show out of UFC and the fighters, and it's blown up to what it is now. But at the absolute start of it, I was just for free going around stalking them, doing ring announcing,
What
blah blah
year?
blah.
What year is this? What year are we looking at right now when you're talking about this? What year? What year is this? You're doing
I was
this?
doing actually I was still doing ring announcing and that post fight stuff when I was at Whakata Māori. So this was before News Hub. When I was at
Mm-hmm.
News Hub, I started fighting. So that was a whole nother
Yeah,
journey. But
that's
so this
dope.
was like so this was like 2014, 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
Started doing that. And then of course if you're there in those circles, you can see people getting better, getting
Yeah.
contracts. We don't know anything, media don't know anything about it, but we knew we had Faith
Fuck, I
Bendua had
feel
been.
like it was huge then too.
It was
Well, it was huge
absolutely
in my
huge.
age. Like, I don't know, like,
It was
we used to
absolutely
watch
huge.
all, like it was freaking huge. Fuck, we're so behind there. I don't know, or some at the time.
Yeah.
I guess obviously, but more
I
awake now because
just
you've
feel
got a
like,
show.
and we still are. We're still behind the eight ball on it. And I really do believe it's, we just don't have those experts in those places, like we have those millions of rugby reporters, netball, cricket. No
Yeah.
one knows MMA, so I feel like there's an intimidation that they can't report on it because they don't know it, perhaps. Because we've come so far in MMA that it can't be just a novelty story anymore. Like, look at these guys and what
Hell
they're doing.
no.
You have to know stuff now to be able to report on it and to have their respect to give you anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just not enough nerds, I think.
But
in
good on
those.
you, sister. Like being a nerd yourself, and then just feeling like there was a pain point, something that wasn't being looked after. You know what I mean? And just going for it. Their whole thing, pulling the trigger, giving it a crack. Like when I said at the start, like you're pioneer, like literally, just like if people don't give you your flowers, sis, like I'll give you some.
Thank you.
What you want? Chrysanthemum, roses, which one? I got you. But like straight up, just like you're a pioneer, and as much as like Izzy and Eugene and even like all of Lolo, Mark, all of them are pioneers for the sport, back home, Ray Seffel, yourself too, because if it's not being covered, just like if nobody records Connor talking shit, no one knows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
again, if you're not broadcasting it and writing these stories, it doesn't get the light. So I can keep shining the light. Just keep doing that. It's awesome. Straight up.
I shall.
Yeah. No,
I've
that's
kind of
wicked.
put
Yes.
myself in a box now.
Yeah, but that's all right. Like, and
It's a great
it's a cool niche to be in too. A great box
Yeah.
and a cool niche to be in.
Yeah.
Well, before we get out of here, sis, because I have taken up heaps of your time, I've got a couple of little quick questions for you before we go. Is that all right?
Very good. That's fine.
All right, can't wait. If you could only have one kai for the rest of your life, what do you choose?
Boil up.
Yeah, but how you have what's the flavors though? Because boil ups for me too all day. pull up straight off.
Definitely I have to have watercress, pork bones, but I am a bacon soft bone fan.
Yeah, I'm a big bacon soft
Yeah.
bone cuz kia ora.
Yeah.
Either one.
Has
How
to
do
be
you like your
kumara.
doughboys? Do you like how do you like your doughboys? You like those big fluffy ones, or you like those little?
I'm probably the smaller fan.
Oh yeah, those little
Smaller ones.
little ugly
Yeah.
looking ones. Yeah.
Drown them. And
Yeah.
yeah, tons and tons of salt and fresh bread with real butter.
Well, got to. Not none of this margarine stuff here. What is that? Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. If you could have one superpower, which one do you choose and why?
I would like to teleport
Ooh,
because
that'll help
flights are
for your
really
mahi.
expensive now.
Yeah, well, actually, but that'll help for your mahi too.
I would like to. It's a toss up. It's like a toss up between teleporting but moving through time.
Oh, okay. If you're
Yeah.
gonna so if you're gonna move through time,
Yeah.
what because everyone's gonna go, oh, I'm gonna go meet my nanny and this and that, like obviously those kinds of things. But where would you go time period wise, like in in through history? Where would you go to?
I would probably go back to I don't know. I don't know about the era. I just think like there would be some really cool people I'd like to talk to, that are gone now. That
Well, there was going to be another question, so relax.
Oh, sorry. I've mixed it all into one.
No. But yeah, so what about you? So era wise, you don't know, like you wouldn't go back to.
Yeah, I don't know. Era wise, maybe I don't know, like the 50s, maybe.
Oh, like just
I don't know.
Aotearoa 50s, or like
Aotearoa 50s. See where it all started. I live out in Maraetai in Auckland, and there's like it's a really old community here. Like it's a real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like too hippie, but
Yeah.
it's like a place that's kind of trapped in time, and I'm just like, man, like that's what gets me interested about being here in that time. I know there would definitely be no half caste like me back then, but
no, that'd be over there. Those ones will be over at my left eye. Yeah, all right. I guess that. Well, going into that, if you could have dinner with 5 people from history, don't give me the my koro, my nanny, of course. Like those ones. Yeah. But like, who would you go? Like, obviously famous people, infamous people through history. Who would you go and have a kai with and have a kōrero? I guess being a journalist, you could ask them questions.
I would go back and have. I don't know why, but Nelson Mandela.
Oh yeah.
Roy
Lach Mandela, eh?
You kind of have to like space them out, because if you went with like 5 high energy,
no, space them out. We can have 5 dinners over 5 years, whatever.
Yeah. I'm thinking like Maya Angelou type people.
Do you have any Maya Angelou poems off the top of your head you can recite?
No, I don't. But I read them all the time. I just don't memorize them.
Okay.
But I feel like there's a lot of fake ones going around as well, so it's hard to know.
Yeah, I feel like they know fake news.
See, I don't report on it. Not fact.
Yeah, that's right. It's not Ravinder. It's not true.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. There's another one. Just another 3 more.
Okay. Paul Holmes.
Oh, okay. What would you ask him?
How'd you do it, bro? Like,
yeah.
He wasn't just, a big head in the game. He had such longevity, and I felt a lot of his, hate him or love him, you couldn't help but watch him. And I think he was just one of the pioneers in that space. He was the John Campbell of his time. He was the, those controversial, not just a journalist, but a speaking head at the same time, just spitting out whatever was on the top of his head. And like with that,
and he didn't mind the cheeky duckies too. Shout out to Auntie Hinimore.
That's it. Big fan.
Big fan of the cheeky duckies, the bro. Oh, that's cool.
But
That's
just,
cool. I like
like
that.
you see people like him now. There weren't people like him back then. He
Still
started
worth here.
yeah. So I find that really interesting.
Oh, poor Holmes.
Um,
Two
Kobe
more,
would be
sis.
another one at the
Oh,
table.
Kobe. Are you a Lakers fan?
I'm not
Or
a
just
Lakers
Kobe?
fan, but I'm
Nah?
a big Kobe Bryant and his
Yeah,
work
Black
ethic.
Mamba.
Absolutely, that mentality. And man, I feel like when he passed away, it was even more, like what he was able to give in life in his short time was just, you'd pray for a smidgen of that in your whole lifetime, if you live to old age.
Yeah.
So he's
And
cool.
just on Kobe, I think too, people don't realize, like Michael Jordan, like people say, oh, he modeled his game off Jordan. He was the next best thing after Jordan. Michael had way bigger hands than Kobe. Michael could jump way higher. Kobe couldn't really, like, compared to, like Michael, like Kobe had to work way harder than like to be at the level he was at. Then even though Michael worked hard too, like Kobe just, and the competitiveness was like, you hear of David Goggins and all of these kind of mental fellows. Their fellow was just as mental, that same kind of cut from the same cloth there, just beast.
Yeah, absolutely relentless, and just name one other person who was more determined to succeed at what he loved to do. I don't think there's not too many that bring to mind, and he's
well,
like,
maybe they'd be on par, but like that's about, like, I don't think you could get someone past that like would have a tickle game and then go to the next city, arrive at 3 a.m, and then have to put up like 500 shots before he's happy, before to go to sleep for a couple hours and then get back up and do it all again. Like,
how does one person stay in a team sport? How does one person keep themselves that motivated as an individual all the time?
And another thing too, sis, is that how do you climb the mountain? Like, because you already got the chips. You got the chips in it. How do you push yourself again and again to? You already know what it's like to get up there. Like, how do you get back down? You climb down Everest after you've been through base camp and that, and you look back up and you go, "Let's go again." Like, and wow, that's a different mentality, and and that's
I
probably
feel like
why,
he'd
like,
be a person you could even just sit next to and learn so much from, just from getting that,
you could even learn a couple of languages. The bro spoke Italian and Spanish pretty well too.
Really intelligent as well. Yeah.
Shout out to Kobe. Who's our last one? Who's our last one? We're gonna sit down and I guess they're gonna have Ravinder's boil up.
Who else would there be? This is might make you laugh, but probably Bob Marley.
Why would that make me laugh?
I don't know. It's just random. Like, it's
but I think he's one of the most interesting humans that ever lived. Like, I think big Bob Marley. Obviously, I think even our people, right? Our people's like there's like a real whanaungatanga with Bob Marley and our people. Like,
and I think that's why I'm thinking of him. Like, for Māoridom, song is so, waiata is like one of the biggest, forms of anything for us in terms of showing emotion or protest or, anything. And he just resonated, like you said, with our people so much. Like, reggae is, like, to me, I could not call
it's like Māori music.
Bob Marley is Māori.
But that's it, and it's even funny because a lot of those quotes or a lot of those little clips that they show on, like, all over the place are from when he was in Aotearoa. Heaps of like has that interview those interviews that he did when he was here. Oh, not here, I'm fucking in Australia, but where you are back home. Like, a lot of that stuff was there. Even I mean, whether you agree with the day or not, being born on the 6th of February, you know what I mean? Like, it's a significant day for our people, whether it's a bad significance or good. It's that's, I think, intertwined with our people even more so. And just an interesting human being.
Absolutely. And his message and his waiata were, man, some of his messaging is quite harsh, but the way in which he delivered it was just beautiful, and it's, sometimes you think of a tune and you're singing it without even really realizing what's in those lyrics. But he always had a great mind of, elevating his people and injustices and love, and all these sorts of things. So yeah, he'd be a fascinating, like a creative mind to bring.
Amazing, eh? Amazing. Robert Nesta Marley. Do you know what his first ever name was when he first put out an album? Do you know what his first name was?
No.
His first stage name was Bobby Martel. Was his first name Bobby Martel? Because obviously Robert Nesta Marley is not Bob, because they knew that it wasn't gonna probably sell records if he was named, Robert Nesta or whatever. So and if I like the Martel part, because that's my actual first name is Martel.
Really?
So for me, like a Martel, not Shubs. Oh yeah, Shubs, not my actual name. There's a whole story how I got there, but like everyone knows me as that, so I'll just whatever. But yeah, that for me too. So I know this is not my bloody podcast, it's yours. But like, but yeah, when you say Bob Marley, I don't think that's funny. I think that like he's the top of my list every time when it comes to favorite musician of all time.
Absolutely.
Who would you want to sit down and like? I just think that the amount of songs and then like he was only like in his 40s, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many people in there and like only young, really? You think about it, like young, like yourself, only 31, you know?
Exactly.
But like to be able to have the impact on the world after, and then it's another thing people didn't realize, in America he wasn't really loved by the black community, the African American community. It was like more the white hippie college people that enjoyed him. And when he like first collapsed in New York, it was the Supremes that week that he was opening up for at Madison Square Garden, where you think about it now, like, bro, they should be opening up for his ass. Like, that's
right.
how huge he is. So no, I don't think that's bad at all. So, oh geez, this questions is going on too long. My bad. If there's any aspiring journalists out there that do want a little piece of advice, I know you can't say how you got to, like, this is how you get to where I am, but if you've got a piece of advice for them, what would you say?
There's a couple of things that I would say. Okay. The first is to always fiercely be yourself. Don't try and be anybody else. Reason being is that I think people and connection should always be the number one approach, because if you concentrate on that, you'll get the best out of your talent and you'll get a genuine reaction from an audience. The second one would be do your research. It's not easy being a journalist. You have to put in the work. It doesn't come easy, but in the end, it will all pay off when you do it.
Yeah, man. That was Mickey. Last one. Give us 10 years from now. 31 now, so 41 years of age. What's Ravinder Hunia's life look like? And
ooh, that's a good one. I really don't know. All I know is that I won't be in the same spot that I am now. And that's hopefully because, all the seeds that I'm continuing to sow are flourishing by then. But I don't know what that looks like. And I've never been able to say what that looks like because, like I said, there's no blueprint to what I've been doing. I don't have an aspiration to be a CEO of this or a manager of that. That's not there. But if that's what I'm called upon to do at some point for the greater good, then that could be me. But yeah, I think I just continue to sow the seeds, continue the mahi, and whatever doors open, I just have to keep walking through them.
Yeah, beautiful, sis. Well, sis, I just want to say time is the most valuable commodity we have as human beings. It's the one thing we can never get back, right? We can always get back money, we can always get back things, but time spent is time lost. So thank you for sharing this time with me and anybody that listens to this over the years. I'm so grateful, so appreciative, and you're an inspiration, sis, actual, to not only young Māori, but even young Indians out there. Cousins, I think it's amazing what you've done as a pioneer in the space of MMA and media and our homeland. Keep doing it, sis. Keep soldiering on. Much love to your tāne and all your three tamariki and all the mokopuna that you have. May you have a quiver full. And I'm excited to see where your journey ends up in 10 years, and hopefully this is the last time we caught it.
Ngā mihi, brother. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this full episode of Mind the Mic. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to create these episodes, so to know that you've watched and listened to the entire thing means the world to myself and all our hosts. If you could, before you leave, please hit the subscribe button and share this episode out to as many people as possible. It would help us so much. Thank you again to everybody that's still here, still watching. Thank you for all your comments, all your shares, all the DMs. Appreciate you all. Make sure you follow us on every platform. Have an awesome morning. Have an awesome night, depending on where you are in the world. Mind the mic out.
Oi, have you hit the link in bio yet?
Watch full episodes on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all streaming platforms.